All right, Shabbat Shalom. This is the brother Ra'aya coming in the spirit and the power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But before I get started, as always, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and whom I learned this truth from. And peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure to the end. Shabbat Shalom. It's another day, another Saturday, prophesying the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai against this wicked kingdom, Babylon the Great, ruled by the basest of men, the biblical Edomites, who you know as these so-called white people today. And the basest of men, the wicked according to the scriptures, the border of wickedness in Malachi 1 verse 4, the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of in Job 9 verse 24, is about to come down in great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. I'm going to start it off with that Revelation 12 verse 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe or destruction to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, the deceiver, Esau, Edom, more specifically the elites of these Edomites, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the DuPonts, the Massimos, etc., is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. And like I opened up with my Shabbat lesson last night, these elites of the Edomites know that their time is almost up. They understand the scriptures and can see that the nation of Israel is waking up and calling back on their power, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. The nation of Israel consisting of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who look like these heathen nations. And we've been scattered from one end of the earth into the other, as pursuant to the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And they also see the prophets of the Most High, the men of the Lord, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up video epistles on the internet, as well as the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS. And the doctrine of GMS is the doctrine of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. And as it says in Matthew chapter 24 verse 14, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, which a main thing that has helped spread this ministry from one end of the earth into the other is the unicorn, the internet. And it says, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. And we can see it, as well as these elites can see, that these end time signs and prophecies preluding the second coming of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus Christ, the end of this age of the rulership of the heathen nations and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven, are either in the process of taking place or taking place as we speak. So again, this devil knows that he hath but a short time. So these elites are about to pull out all the stops to establish their NW0, that GREAT RESET, the fourth industrial revolution. And hey, a lot of people are going to die between here and the second coming of Yahweh Shai and the ushering in of the kingdom of heaven. And I was watching a video by the elder Yashuamba of the Dallas camp earlier, he was going into some of the tenets that these elites and their underlings want to push with the fourth industrial revolution. And one of the main things is going to be a carbon tax, because the powers that be say that there's global warming taking place because of human activity in the environment. We're producing so much carbon that it's heating up the atmosphere. So what do we need to do? We need to cut back on meat consumption, traveling with cars, and just pretty much everything people take in life for granted. And as he detailed in that video, they say that the average carbon footprint for a person around the planet is, I think like 4, I can't remember the measurement, but let's say 4 carbon footprints. But they say that in the United States of America, for the average American, it's 16 carbon footprints. So these elites definitely have a lot of things in the works for you Americans out there to really curtail your lifestyle and really curtail the lifestyle of people globally, because these elites want everybody to be in perpetual servitude to them, to where your movements and purchases and biometrics are tagged and traced in society. And if you go against the system, hey, they're just going to cut you off from it. And what's going to be the main method for them to do that? The Charagma, the RFID / NFC, MICROCHIPIMPLANT in Revelation 13, verses 16 to 18. The MARKOFTHEBEAST. And we can see that everything in society right now is moving towards that, don't want to get my book sick, where that everything in society is, I just put it on my back. Man, it's coming down today. That everything in society is moving towards the implementation of the Charagma. What do we have? Actually, so it don't get too wet. Slakia for the technical interferences. But yeah, that everything in society is moving towards the implementation of the Charagma. You've got all these central banks across the world talking about implementing CBDCs, which Biden, back in March of this year, signed a law to where on December 13th of this year, the U.S. government is going to more heavily push the implementation of a digital dollar, a U.S. CBDC. And then in the video Elder Yashulamba did, when they were talking about dealing with people's carbon footprints, that they were talking about a carbon wallet to detail and trace people's carbon footprint. And they were talking about some suggestions like, if you reach a certain limit, you've eaten too much, you've traveled too much, you've spent too much, your carbon wallet will be cut off, so you won't be able to continue to buy or sell or do anything until I guess your cycle restarts, like a phone bill. But what's going to be the main method for them to do that? That Charagma. And this is that devil coming down in great wrath. And also, he showed a clip from that devil, which I definitely know brothers have marked him for a slave in the kingdom. But I pray as thou, if some of y'all brothers could lease him out to me in the kingdom, that would be much appreciated. But Yuval Harari, he was talking about how humans have become obsolete, pretty much. And that in the future, there's going to be a small group of the smart people that form society that are at the top, and that the mass majority of people will be phased out, and they'll be lucky if they get a universal basic income or get to live in one of these smart cities. And what did it say on the Georgia Guidestones? That they want to keep humanity under 500 million. So indeed, this devil is about to come down in great wrath to establish his NW0. There's going to be a lot of death and destruction during it. And best believe some of the main targets, as I also went into with my Shabbat lesson last night, are going to be you Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. But let's get back into these scriptures. Because this so-called white man, this Edomite, wasn't created for the betterment of the world, no matter how much they like to doctor things up and show how they're benefiting society with their technology and medical breakthroughs. It's all an agenda for domination and control, and ultimately to fulfill their agendas. And the Most High created these Edomites to be the wicked, to be his sword, to take peace from the earth. This is Revelation chapter 6, verse 4. And there went out another horse that was red. And this is dealing with the so-called 4 horsemen of the apocalypse in Revelation chapter 6, which they weren't literal horsemen riding around and doing all that. They were symbolic of different instances and prophecies that would be taking place during the last days. And this red horse is speaking of the Edomites, because in the scriptures, horses represent power, and red. Let's just get it in Genesis 27. It gives you context clues as to what this red horse is. So I'm going to read that Revelation 6 verse 4 one more time. And there went out another horse that was red. And when we go to Genesis chapter 27 or 25, which deals with the birth of Jacob and Esau, it says, Genesis 25 and 24, and this is when Rebekah gave birth. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like an hairy garment, and called his name Esau, because these Edomites, who are ignorantly referred to as so-called white people, are not white. This is white on my jacket right here, and you've never seen anybody this color. They're red because their blood sheweth forth through their skin. They have biblical leprosy, meaning they were stripped of their melanin. They're actually clean lepers, so they're red. So that's one context clue to show who that red horse is in Revelation chapter 6 verse 4. And it goes even deeper. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Now let's go to Genesis chapter 27, which details the blessings that Isaac gave Jacob and Esau. This is Genesis 27. I'm going to start at 38. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Because when you read that story, Jacob supplanted the birthright and the blessing from Esau, but it was all through the Spirit of the Most High for Jacob to get the blessing and the birthright to the kingdom of heaven. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. So one of the blessings that Esau received was a dominion over the planet, the fatness of the earth, being in control of the goodliest places. And as we can see, at the head of these different industries out here, such as banking, natural resources like diamonds, oil, technology, all that, who's at the head of it? Weaponry, these Edomites. And the dew of heaven from above, these Edomites are in control of the second heaven, low orbit space. That's why they have satellites up there in space stations. Verse 40, the point I wanted to get to. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. So the other blessing of these Edomites was the sword with which they would use to gain the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. And when these Edomites came into power, really came into power, beginning with Alexander the Great, how did he gain dominion of the known world at the time? Through conquest, through war, through bloodshed. And it was no different with the Romans, and it's no different with the Edomites today. When they came into this little season of their final rulership, beginning with the Renaissance, how did they gain the earth? Again, colonization, war, death, destruction, rape, robbery, and murder. And it's no different all the way up until today. Just look at what they do to these other nations. Say Iraq, Libya, or what they tried to do with Syria. They create propaganda campaigns to demonize those leaders, saying they're taking away human rights, democracy, they're oppressing women, so they can be justified to go to war in those countries and overthrow their sovereign leaders to set up puppet governments so they can rape that nation of its resources. A good book to read to show the devilish practices of Esau is a book called Confessions of an Economic Hitman, which a lot of brothers always bring up. Because when you read that book, they had, the author of the book was somebody who was known as an economic hitman, where they would go to different countries and talk to their leaders and be like, look, we'll take care of you and your family and the people that are immediately close to you. We'll give you money, access to resources from the West and all that. All we want you to do is just allow these U.S. companies to come into this country and set up shop and make money off of the resources, which whenever these companies go to these countries, what do? They strip mine the lands, move people off of their ancestral lands, and set up these destructive factories and other facilities that just destroy the environment while they suck up the resources. Some leaders went along with it, but some didn't. So when the economic hitmen weren't able to accomplish their goals, what would they send in? Something called the Jackals, which were CIA and other alphabet group hitmen to go in and try to assassinate those leaders. We saw something similar. We saw something like that recently with Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela a couple of years ago. They didn't say they don't know who sent the drone, but we know who did. A drone tried to kill Nicolas Maduro, an example of the Jackal, because he didn't want to play ball with U.S. companies wanting to exploit Venezuela for its gold and its oil. And then if that doesn't work, then they send in what they call the Leviathan Force, the U.S. military, to come in and just completely destroy the country, put it back into the Stone Ages, like what they did with Iraq. So those companies like Halliburton or whoever can come in and build things up and, you know what, just do their plans anyway. So that's an example of that sword that Esau has been given to take the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above. But back in Revelation chapter 6, verse 4, and there went out another horse that was born red all over, like an hairy garment. And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword, the blessing of Esau Edom. So again, these Edomites weren't created for the betterment of humanity. They do everything clean contrary to the scriptures of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, the laws, statutes, and commandments. Hence why the earth is languishing under their rulership. So now, the Edomites, again, like we opened up with Revelation 12, verse 12, they see that their time is almost up for rulership. So they're about to come down in great wrath to establish that NW0, that fourth industrial revolution. And they're going to furbish that sword one last time to get everybody together to establish that NW0. A lot of death, destruction, and mayhem is about to come to the inhabitants of the earth. Salakia. Now I'm going to go to Habakkuk chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 4, because like I've been saying throughout the video, everything you're hearing about right now with the GR and the fourth industrial revolution and the need for a carbon wallet and to track people's carbon footprint is these elites consolidating everything together under one banner, one government, one religion, one currency, one digital currency. These elites want to have complete control over everything, not just the physical aspects of things, lands and resources and people working underneath them, but they literally want to have control of people's souls. And if you receive that charagma, hey, that's game over for you. Because when you look into what they want to do with this charagma, not just the one that's in the hand or any part of the body, but also that one in the forehead, which we know we've got companies like Elon Musk Neuralink, as well as another company called Synchron working with brain implants. They want to be able to have all your biometrics tracked and traced. Hey, these devils even want to be able to read your thoughts, because we know that some of the aspects that Elon Musk, which he's nothing more than a puppet of these elites, has talked about with Neuralink, is people being able to communicate telepathically with it. This Edomite wants to know what you buy, where you live, where you travel, what your carbon footprint is, even what you think, so you won't be able to turn left or right without being trapped in this system that he wants to create. And if you want to go against it, then well, they'll cut you off from the system, make you a social pariah, put you to death if need be, which when the mandatory implementation of this charagma takes place, there is going to come a point to where people that don't want to get along with the system are going to be put to death. Actually, before we get to that Habakkuk, let's read that Revelation chapter 13. This is Revelation chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 16. And he causeth all, that he being the elites of the Edomites, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a charagma in their right hand or in their foreheads, that see-hip implant, and that no man might buy or sell, get a job, travel abroad, do anything in society, save he that had the charagma, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Salakia. And Elder Yashuamba brought up a very beautiful point in his video that he did dealing with the carbon footprint and all that. When you receive the name of the beast, it's like a marriage. Like when a woman marries a man, she takes on his last name. If you receive this charagma, you're taking on the last name, so to speak, of these elites and their system. They're your property. You're their property. They're your God. Verse 18, here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Chi Psi Stigma. And I'm recording on my phone right now, so I can't go into the blue letter. But when you go into the Strongs for Chi Psi Stigma and go into the word stigma, it talks about how it's a mark, pricked or branded, cut into the skin, which denotes who your leader is, who your ruler is, a token to your gods. So again, if you receive that charagma, hey, these elites have become your gods. And we don't care about these heathens. These heathens can receive as many charagmas as we want. We're simply speaking and preaching to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, the children of Israel. Because if you receive that charagma, hey, you're going to be you're pledging your allegiance to Esau, Edom, and his system, and you're going to be destroyed by these nuclear missiles when they're shot to the ends of the earth during World War III. So it is imperative to you Israelites out there not to take that charagma, and especially if you've heard the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and heard from his prophets, the men of the Lord, because we're telling you what it is and what the consequences are for receiving it. And hey, we're all going to have to go through our hour of temptation, where some of us will be faced with being put to death for not taking the charagma. But hey, everything is worth it to receive that crown, to be of that elect number. But like I was saying, there's going to come a time where during the mandatory implementation of the charagma, those that don't want to get down with the system will be faced with put to death for not taking it. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that he again being the elites, and the image of the beast being the financial, political, and military aspects of this beast system that we're currently living in. The last leg of the fourth beast in Daniel chapter 2, those iron toes mixed with miry clay, the reincarnated Roman Empire, the NATO-EU alliance that the U.S. is a part of, and the charagma is a major aspect of the image of the beast. That the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast and receive that charagma should be killed, point blank, period. So this backs up Revelation 12 verse 12, where it says that devil is going to come down in great wrath because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. People will be faced with being put to death for not wanting to accept the charagma. That's how serious of the times we're coming into are going to be, the times of Jacob's trouble. But like I just said, whatever to you Israelites, more specifically to the hopeful elect, which Abaratazah, I'm of that number, whatever comes your way, do not take that charagma. If it's your life to be a martyr for a testimony to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, then so be it. Not only are you going to be an automatic elect on the chariots with Yahweh Shai, with those new spiritual bodies waiting to come and save the rest of the elect, but you're going to have that eternal memorial as the one of those men that didn't bend the knee to Baal. You didn't give in to Esau's system. You didn't receive his mark, his name, or accept the image of the beast. And that memorial is going to last for eternity. But to you Israelites, especially those that have heard the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, but during the hour of temptation you get weak and receive that charagma, not only are you not going to be of that elect number, but you're going to get burned up by those nuclear missiles as well as the laser beams from the chariots. And you're going to have an eternal memorial, but it's going to be one of us, an Israelite who got weak and gave in to Esau Edom and his system. This is one who could not stand firm to his power, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. This is Revelation chapter 14, verses 9 to 10. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his charagma in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb, Yahweh Shai HaMashayah. But it said, if you receive that charagma, you're going to be tormented with fire and brimstone, those nuclear missiles, as well as the laser beams from the chariots. That's just a quick side note on the consequences of receiving the charagma. But again, like I've been going into with this lesson, this devil knows that he hath but a short time to establish his NW0. So he's about to come down in great wrath to establish it. And what his main goal is to get you people with that charagma in you under one system, one government, one religion, one currency, one order. But now back to Habakkuk chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 4. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And him whose soul is not his soul that is not upright, that's Salakia. And as it says, behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him. That's speaking of these Edomites. As it says in Psalms chapter 58, verse 3, the wicked are estranged from the womb. These Edomites weren't right from the get-go. They were created to be the wicked of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. As it says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, I think it's chapter 3, who can make that straight which the Most High has made crooked? And also as it says in Sirach 33, the Most High has made for himself vessels unto honor and vessels unto dishonor. The vessels unto honor are the children of Israel, his work, his favorite work, who were meant to be the rulers of this planet under the law, instituting the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. But we went off, so we're in captivity right now. But the vessels of dishonor are you Edomites, the wicked who are estranged from the womb, the border of wickedness in Malachi 1 verse 4, who do everything clean contrary to the law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. You want to X out the Most High and His Son and want to shew yourselves as the Most High and have these people worship you as a God. And you do that through your technology, your scientific miracles, your medical miracles, and all that. Cars, airplanes, medical industry, the internet, you name it. Let's go back to Revelation chapter 13. This is Revelation chapter 13, I'm going to start at verse 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And this is that last leg of the fourth beast that we're living in right now. It's really a dragon with draconian measures. These elites behind the scenes, all their laws that they want to pass and their system that they want to institute is not for the betterment of mankind. It's for slavery and dominion of mankind, having everybody walled in without rights or their own freedoms or thoughts in smart cities, while these elites get to enjoy the earth. But as it said, that dragon had two horns like a lamb. This is these political structures that they put in to make people think that they have a choice in a sane society, that their opinion matters. Your left-right paradigm, red versus blue, conservatives versus Democrats. One side will say, look, we have these ideas, vote for us, while the other side will say the same thing. But if you ever notice, with each passing president or whoever, prime minister or ruler in these different Edomite countries, what happens? The same measures always seem to get put into place. More wars, more taking away of rights, etc., etc. Because these political figures are nothing more than puppets of the elites to, again, give you people the illusion of choice. Just like back during the ancient pagan Roman Empire, you had the patricians, which are your more conservative types, and the plebeians, which are your more Democrat for the people types. How one was fighting for one class while another was fighting for the other. But at the end of the day, who had the final say? The Roman emperor. And they always had those draconian measures, those hardcore measures to keep people subjective. Verse 12, and he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, speaking of the Roman Empire, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And how did these Edomites begin to get people to worship that first beast? Through that sword, through colonization, through going to these different countries, beginning with them coming back into power in the Renaissance and beating their way into them. They used plantation Christianity to get these people to think that the Most High and His Son and the prophets and the angels and the children of the Most High were so-called white people, so people would worship that image. And then they came with what? Their Darwinism, their theories of evolution, and their other pseudosciences to justify them being in rulership. And then what do you have today? In order to really function in this society, what do you need to do? You have to act like these Edomites. It's common in business to wear a business suit with a tie, and shave your face. And if you want to be a pilot, speak English. And who are the main sources of economic trade right now? You have to go through them to do major business dealings. These Edomite countries, mainly the United States of America and their European vassals. What do you have? The SWIFT system, which deals with converting currencies into US dollar transactions. Hell, what's the world reserve currency right now? The US dollar. And whose face is on it? Edomites. Those dead presidents. Oh, and in the medical field, what do you have? You have to know Latin terms for all these different medical and scientific things. And who is the Latin the language of? The Roman Edomites. Verse 13, and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. And an example of him causing fire to come down from heaven to the earth in the sight of men is what? Those 2 atomic bombs that he dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima during World War II. And once that happened, a lot of these nations, they were in fear and in awe of these Edomites, because this was destructive technology that had never been seen up until that point, and they didn't want any of that smoke. So they further fell in line under the hegemony of this Edomite system, beginning with the United States of America, who became the major superpower after World War II. And then what did you have? The Bretton Woods Agreement, which made the US dollar the world reserve currency. Then you had the Treaty of Rome, which set the groundwork for the EU and then NATO, and now you have this power structure today, those iron toes mixed with miry clay, the reincarnated Roman Empire, the NATO-EU alliance that the US is a part of, that these nations follow after right now. Verse 14, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. His technological miracles, medical miracles, military miracles, you name it. And with this fourth industrial revolution they're pushing, they're really going to pull out all the stops to further deceive people with their scientific miracles. You've got a lot of these Edomites, like Yuval Harari, however you say his name, talking about how through technology, man will be able to live forever, have eternity, live for eternity. And you got to think about it like this. This Edomite has done everything he can to discredit the Bible and make you think that the Bible or any other spiritual practice is just that, a myth, a fantasy, a fiction, and that this is the only life we live in. And if that's the case, and if you're a person that's in power right now, and you've got such a military and technological might, and you push the idea of survival of the fittest, evolution, or Darwinism, what would people underneath you naturally think? Oh, he must be the apex predator. He must be the god, if there was one, of this planet. So we might as well, what does it say? If you can't beat him, join him. Cleave under this system. Make an image to his beast system and follow after it. And deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had a wound by a sword, and did live. These other nations following after the ways and the practices and the customs of these Edomites, which, as I've been saying throughout the video, the ultimate goal is to get all these people under one banner, one religion, one currency, a one world order. But back in Habakkuk chapter 2, Habakkuk chapter 2, I'm going to reread verse 4. Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. And that's exactly what the just are doing right now, the hopeful elect. We have faith that no matter how bad things are going to get and whatever our lot may be during Jacob's trouble and our hour of temptation, we have faith that if we endure until the end, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai will get us through it and will ultimately receive those crowns, be of that elect number. But as for the wicked of our people that don't want to take heed to the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai or his prophets, you're going to be asked out here. You're not going to have that protective hedge over you. And when this devil really comes down and pulls out all the stops, a lot of you are just going to easily give in and accept his fourth industrial revolution and take that charagma in you and ultimately be destroyed. Verse 5, yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, and that isn't talking about literal wine, that's talking about his philosophies that he's made the people drunk off out here. Capitalism, democracy, socialism, communism, feminism, all that. Living this modern, so-called progressive lifestyle, which has bugged a lot of people out here. Just look at the state of the world and people's minds out here. A bunch of zombies that don't know what a male from a female is. They don't know whether they want to be marry a tree or cut off their genitalia. All sorts of madness out here. And that main wine is pushing this transhumanism agenda, merging man with machine, having you people get that charagma in you and go from a carbon-based life to a silicon-based life, having everybody in the metaverse living vicariously in a machine while these elites get to enjoy the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven, or you're nothing more than a slave in a goyim in a smart city, What did Klaus Schwab say? You will own nothing and be happy. Fucking madness. Yeah, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell. And these Edomites don't keep at home. Again, their blessing was the fatness of the earth and the dew of heaven from above, instead of staying in their lands that the Most High gave them, which was originally Mount Seir or Mount Petra. What did they do? They went into Europe and took that land away from the Japhites around the time of Alexander the Great. And then Israel came back into power and ruled Europe for 1,000 years. But then when the Edomites started coming back into power with the Renaissance in the late 1300s to the 1400s, what did they do? They pushed Israel out, took over Europe, and then they started going to these different lands all across the planet and colonizing them, taking their resources and poisoning the people with their ideas, their Renaissance thinking, their Renaissance Christianity. And again, like I said at the beginning of the video, it's no different all the way up until today. They go into these different countries, and if their leaders don't want to play ball, for example, with the economic hitmen, what do? They overthrow those leaders, set up puppet governments, and rape that nation of its resources. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. And that word hell is Sheol, or the grave. And the grave is never satisfied because people are constantly dying and going back to the spirit world. So it's saying that this man's desires are insatiable. Here he has most of the world under his subjection, and he could have just stopped. He could have just been like, look, I've set up my system, and you know what? I'm going to lay back and enjoy the fruits of my labors. There was a clip on the Joe Rogan Experience of this one Edomite comedian who was complaining about the very same thing. Hey, with all these people we killed and raped and robbed and murdered to get these good things we have in America, why not just sit back and enjoy it? That's what any natural conquering nation would do. But these Edomites are different. They need more. They're like a parasite. They suck that host dry until there's nothing left. And it isn't good enough just to control people's lands and have the people following after your ways. This Edomite wants to put things inside you, charagmas inside you, so he can control your very thoughts, your very way of being, your soul, because he wants to be like the Most High, as it says in, let's get it, 2 Thessalonians. This devil has a God complex. This is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. I'm start at verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first. And the falling away did happen when the nation of Israel fell away from their identity. You had the northern kingdom who came over to the Americas, and though they still followed some of the practices of their forefathers, for the most part, they broke off into their different so-called Native American lifestyles that they were living. Mayans, Aztecs, Seminole Indians, Cherokee, Choctaw, all that. And then of course after 70 AD, when Jerusalem fell and the southern kingdom, the so-called Negroes, fled into parts of Europe and the interiors of the west coast of Africa, they started following after different ways. A lot of them became the Muslims or the Moors, Christians, not plantation Christianity, but that Roman Catholicism, just falling away from their identity. So that great falling away did happen. But now we're in the times of the restoration, the last days, when the elect of the nation of Israel would wake up through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, the valley of the dry bones in Ezekiel chapter 37, getting the flesh and the sinews and the breath of life breathed back into them, to come back to the realization that they are Israelites and call back on their power, Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition, And we're in these times right now of the man of sin, the son of perdition, being revealed to be Esau Edom, the so-called white man, the red horse who took peace from the earth with that great sword in Revelation 6 verse 4, the wicked whom the earth has been given into the hands of in Job 9 verse 24, the border of wickedness in Malachi 1 verse 4. And when you go into that word perdition in the Strongs, it means of utter destruction, to destroy. Hey, take peace from the earth like that red horse. Again, this Edomite was created to be the wicked and the sword of the Most High. As it says in Psalm 17 verse 13, protect me from the wicked, which is thy sword. And what does a sword do? It's an instrument of war that only knows how to destroy. So even if these Edomites wanted to do right, they weren't created to do right. Hence why everything they do leads to death and destruction. But again, the man of sin and the son of perdition has been revealed by who? The men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High. Again, chiefly through GMS or Great Millstone, and the brothers that come in the spirit of GMS out on the highways and byways preaching this word, as well as putting up these video epistles. Now, Edomite has become you can say it's become a household name, because I know before I came into the truth and just growing up, I was raised a Roman Catholic, so we went to Mass and all that. But before I heard of the Hebrew Israelites and the Most High allowed me to wake up, I knew of Israel and Jacob and that, but I'd never heard of the term Esau, Edomite, or anything like that. And then just go to a perfect example to show that this man of sin and son of perdition has been revealed is go to Google Images right now and put Esau, Edom, Edomite, Idumean, or whatever in the search engine and see what images come up. Images of so-called white people. The cat's been let out of the bag. The man of sin's been revealed, and the only thing that's going to come next is his judgment. The men of the Lord are the spiritual prosecution team right now, bringing our case before the judge, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, showing the wicked deeds of this man, and then what's the judge going to do? Make his verdict, make his judgment, find you Edomites guilty. Verse 4, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, shewing himself that he is God. And this began with the Renaissance, where they painted over the images of the Most High and his Son, the prophets and the Israelites, from so-called dark-skinned people or Negroes as to what? So-called white people with blonde and brown hair and blue eyes. And now this devil is opposing and exalting himself above the Most High, wanting to shew himself as the Most High through his technological means, his miracles that he's deceiving the people with. And shit, if you've been raised in this society to think that this is the only life and that you only live once and you're afraid of getting old, if somebody comes with technological miracles that say you can live forever, what are you going to do? You're going to look at him as a god and follow after his ways so you can continue to live. But hey, that's the trick bag. The Most High set up this devil to fulfill prophecy and to deceive the people unto destruction. But hey, call halal Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, that he saved that remnant to himself, the elect whom he's woken up to see through these lies, and then what? Prophesy against him, prophesy his kingdom, bring it down. And also we've just about reached the bounds which this devil cannot pass, and his kingdom is about to go down. So no matter how dark things are looking, or how much it seems that this devil's going to get the victory, just know that he will not receive the victory. That the Most High is again set up those boundaries which he cannot pass, and once he's hit them, that's game over for him. And the main linchpin of that, of his end of rulership, is going to be the mandatory implementation of the Charagma. Shortly after that, World War III is going to kick off. These nuclear missiles are going to be shot to the ends of the earth. And that's when Yahweh Shai is going to make his second coming to save his elect and put the final nail in the coffin of Esau Edom's rulership. Verse 5, remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things? And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. And we're living in the times of him being revealed. For the mystery of iniquity doth already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And the mystery of iniquity was working back then, because during the time of the Apostle Paul, they were in the Roman Empire under the Edomites. Though they didn't refer to themselves as the Edomites, and a lot of them didn't know they were Edomites. They just thought they were Romans. And as it says, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. The Most High has set up again those bounds for this Edomite to fulfill prophecy and rule in. And once he's reached them, that's game over. That's where his cutoff point is. Verse 8, and then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouthpiece, the prophets of the Most High, the men of the Lord, out on the highways and byways preaching this word, putting up these video epistles, being that spiritual prosecution team against this Edomite, saying to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, to the world, look, this man is the wicked, he's the Edomite, he's the red horse, he's the one that's taking peace from the earth and trying to establish his NW0 and kill off a lot of people, especially your people. And the judge has heard the case, and the only thing to come next is what? The verdict, the judgment. And shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Yahweh Shai making his second coming to come make war against Esau Edom's system and utterly break it into pieces, ground it into powder. Verse 9, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders, because these Edomites, specifically these elites, received their power from the left hand of the Most High, the spiritual demon Satan. They're the physical counterpart of him, like we're the physical counterpart of the Most High and his Son. But don't be deceived. That doesn't mean that Satan had a war in heaven and the fallen angels are fighting against the Most High. That's all Saturday morning cartoon nonsense. Like I went into a couple of Saturdays ago, there is no free will. Even Satan is subject unto the Most High. He's actually righteous because he does the left-handed work of the Most High. And that involves giving these Edomites counsel and power to do what they do, to have the knowledge to build their technology and put their systems in place to fulfill prophecy. Verse 10, and with all deceivableness and unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. The wicked of our people that hear the words of the prophets, but don't take heed to the words. They scoff at it and just go about their daily lives. YOLO, following after the ways of this Edomite, thinking that this progressive life is the way to live, which is ultimately going to lead unto your destruction. And for this cause, the Most High shall send them strong delusion, that they shall believe a lie, believe in the ways, get bit by some mosquitoes, that they should believe a lie, believe the ways and the philosophies of this Edomite and follow after it. Instead of being Israelites, they want to be a citizen of the world. They want to be black, Hispanic, Native American, Republican, Democrat, all that bullshit. Verse 12, that they might be damned who believe not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness, and going down to Egypt for help, following under the shadow of Pharaoh, which, as it says in Isaiah chapter 30, that shall be under your shame. You want to live after the ways of this Edomite? Well, look, you're going to receive the same judgment as him. All the calamities of Jacob's trouble, and then ultimately those nuclear missiles, burning him up and burning you up for giving yourself unto the image of the beast and receiving his charagma. But now I'm going to go back to that Habakkuk chapter 2, I'm going to reread verse 5. Yeah, also, because he transgresseth by wine his philosophies, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. Listen to this. But gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. What does that sound like? One world, one religion, one currency, one order. That NW0, the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution. So these scriptures clearly give you an indication who the wicked is, who the red horse is, and who these Edomites are by the characteristics that they would be doing in these last days. And they're clear. It's self-evident that they're the only ones out here and shit, even throughout their history, that have pushed for people being under one banner and one order. With these past kingdoms out here, these heathen rulerships, while they subjected people underneath them, what did they do? They allowed them to still follow after their practices and customs. But you just needed to pay taxes to us, give reverence to us. But with these Edomites today, it's no holds barred. You got to follow after our ways, speak our language, use our currency, and ultimately receive our charagma. But like I've been saying, this Edomite will be allowed to get so far with this system, but the Most High has set up those bounds which he cannot pass. And once he's reached him, that's going to be game over for him. Back in that 2 Thessalonians, he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way. And we can see that this Edomite is about to be taken out of the way, because all the signs in the scriptures that we were told to look for to know that his rulership would come to an end on the process of taking place. The main one being the mandatory implementation of the charagma, the C-hip implant. And just with each passing day in the news, we're seeing more and more talks of this, of the C-hip implant. A couple of months ago, at the beginning of this year, you had that Swedish company talk about how you can get a C-hip implant that can have your Kragamuffin 1.9 jump shot information on it. You have another company called, what are they called? Starts with a B. They're a Walletmore, a Belgium company called Walletmore, saying that they think the future is going to be C-hips. That's going to have all your financial information on it, to buy and sell. And then you had a British firm say that they see in the future lawyers having C-hips in their forehead to help them deal with a lot of mental work just in the legal field. And then just recently on CNN, they had a segment where a guy got a C-hip in his hand to unlock his Tesla car. This was on CNN. And he said, I'd also like to get my C-hip to the point to where I can get my financial information on it to buy and sell. And like I said at the beginning of the video, with this whole push for dealing with people's carbon footprints, they're talking about a carbon wallet, some means to identify people and their carbon footprint use, digital means. And what's that going to be? Ultimately, that charagma. And then we can't forget these CBDCs, these digital currencies, which the C-hip is going to be the middleman for between you and using your CBDCs with society. But hey, with all that being said, that just goes to show us that this man has just about reached the bounds which he cannot pass, and then the Most High is going to take him out of the way. This is Job. Let me find it. This is Job chapter 14. Job chapter 14, verse 5. Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds, which he cannot pass. Again, in that 2 Thessalonians, he who now letteth, being the Most High, letting this Edomite have a season to rule, now letteth until he be taken out of the way. The Most High has set up bounds, just like every previous heathen kingdom, for them to rule, and once they've reached their end time limit, they can't go any further. And this Edomite has just about reached it. Hence why, as it says back in Revelation 12, verse 12, that I opened this lesson up with, this devil's coming down in great wrath because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. These devils can see the writing on the wall, so they're scurrying to establish their NW0, thinking that they'll be able to just sail off into the sunset and rule for eternity. But you're caught in a trick bag. The Most High is speeding you up just to speed up your downfall. Because once you so-called establish your NW0 and mandatorily implement the Charagma, that's when it's game over. World War III is going to kick off. Those nuclear missiles are going to start flying, and Yahawashi Hamashiach is going to make his second coming to save his elect and put that final nail in the coffin of your rulership. But now I'm going to jump to Job chapter 20. I'm going to start at verse 22. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. In the fullness of his sufficiency. These elites thinking that we've finally done it. We've accomplished our great work. We can sit back and enjoy the fruits of our labors. He will be in straits. That's when all these different calamities are gonna kick off to show you that, look, that strenuous hold we thought we had on everything was really loose. Everything's fallen out of our control. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. And when you go into that word wicked, it just means the laborers. And we can see that every hand of the wicked or the laborers is upon him. While you do have a lot of people that are falling for the okie doke and are going to walk like cattle into the NW0, you got a lot of these whistleblowers waking up